Hello everyone, let us continue our class, and today we will discuss about nitrogen fixation and nitrogen cycle. And this is the last topic of a chapter, that is chapter 2, microorganisms. Let us first discuss nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen is the most important component of all living organisms. 78% of air in the atmosphere is nitrogen. However, plants, they cannot directly absorb nitrogen from the atmosphere. Plants cannot absorb nitrogen from air, but they can use nitrogen only in the form of nitrate or ammonium compound. Atmospheric nitrogen. Atmospheric nitrogen can be converted into nitrogen compound during the process known as nitrogen fixation. Now let us see what is nitrogen fixation. The process by which atmospheric nitrogen is converted into soluble nitrogen compounds with the aid of certain bacteria. Nitrogen. Nitrogen from the air precipitates and it is deposited in the soil, into the soil and water. In the soil, can you see this arrow where I am pointing? In the soil, the nitrogen will combine with hydrogen to form ammonium ions, NH4, with the help of microorganisms. To make it more clear, let us see an example. The best example is leguminous plants, such as in leguminous plants such as pea and soya bean. These leguminous plants, they have a bacteria known as rhizobium. This is the rhizobium within the nodules of their root. Okay, this is the nodules within the nodules of their root, which carry out the nitrogen fixation. The nitrogen fixation is completed by this bacteria known as rhizobium. What happens is the bacteria first enters to an epidermal cell of the root, causing the root to form an infection thread. This is the infection thread. And from this infection thread, the bacteria will move inside. The bacteria will move inside through this infection thread until it reaches the cortex. And here is the cortex, and the cortex cells will divide quickly, forming a nodule. These cortex cells will divide quickly, forming a nodule. This is the nodule. So the rhizobium, here is the rhizobia. The rhizobia, they will multiply rapidly within the nodules, okay? They will multiply within the nodules, and the bacteria, they will multiply quickly within the nodules. And the bacteria or the bacteroids, they will begin the conversion of nitrogen into ammonia. So once the atmospheric air reaches the root, the rhizobia will convert the nitrogen gas into nitrate compound, that is ammonium ion. And this ammonium ion will be used by plants for their growth, and development. This ammonium ion is used by plants for their growth. This is how plants get nitrogen from the atmosphere through the process of nitrogen fixation. Now let us discuss nitrogen cycle. What is nitrogen cycle? The process of circulation of nitrogen between atmosphere, soil, plants, and animals is known as nitrogen cycle. Like I mentioned before, nitrogen is very important for all living organisms, not only for plants, even for animals. It is very important. Like plants, even animals, they cannot use the nitrogen directly from the atmosphere. Nitrogen gas exists in both organic and inorganic forms. Organic nitrogen exists in living organisms as urea, protein, and nucleic acid. And in organic form, nitrogen are found in abundance in the atmosphere as ammonia, nitrates, and nitrites. Nitrogen undergoes various types of transformation to maintain a balance in the ecosystem. Now, let us see the various steps of nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen fixation. It is the conversion of nitrogen into compound of nitrogen. The rain, thunderstorm, and lightning helps. The rain, thunderstorm, and lightning. All this helps in the transfer of large quantity of nitrogen into the soil. A bacteria known as rhizobia, like I mentioned before, the whole process of nitrogen fixation is done by a bacteria, right? So a bacteria known as rhizobia carry out the nitrogen fixation, and plants use nitrate compound for their growth. The entire process of nitrogen fixation is completed by a bacteria. Next, nitrogen assimilation. Plants take up nitrogen and synthesize compound. Assimilation. Plants take up nitrogen and synthesize compound. And then from plants, the synthesized compound is again taken by other living organisms, okay, like animals. They feed on plants to get nitrogen. This is known as nitrogen assimilation. Next, we have ammonification. When plants or animals die, the nitrogen present in the organic matter is released back into the soil. Ammonification. Now let us see what is ammonification. It involves the decomposition of proteins of dead plants and animals and nitrogenous waste like urea, uric acid of animals to ammonia in the presence of ammonifying bacteria. So this is the process of ammonification. Next, we have nitrification. Nitrification. In this process, ammonia is converted into nitrate by the presence of nitrifying bacteria in the soil. Next, the last step, we have denitrification. Let us see what is denitrification. Denitrification is the process in which the nitrogen compound makes their way back into the atmosphere. It makes its way back into the atmosphere by converting nitrate NO3 into gaseous nitrogen. This process is a final stage, and this occurs in the absence of oxygen. So with this, we have finished a chapter. I hope you all are clear with the explanation. Assignment. Draw a diagram to show nitrogen cycle. And page 27, open your textbook, page 27, exercise A, fill in the blank. Thank you.